So to begin, I'm just brushing up her eyebrow hairs. Then I take my NYX eyebrow pencil in the color Espresso and I'm just outlining the bottom of her brows. Right now, as you can see, I'm drawing the line all the way down as I'm creating my tail. Then I do go to the top to create my arch. And then I would go to the front of the brows and just brush everything up so her eyebrows are as natural as possible. This step is very repetitive and easy. All we're doing is filling in the brows some more, building up her arch, creating a longer tail, making her eyebrows a little darker. And as we're going along with that, we are still brushing throughout the brows just so we can still get that natural brow. Right now we are using eyelash glue. Placing glue on your eyebrow hairs, it is used to keep the eyebrow hairs in place. One tip that I actually noticed is it's best to apply the glue after filling your brows in, because sometimes when you use the glue before, it's kind of hard to fill in the brows. So I'm going in with my Tarte Concealer. All the products will be listed in the description below. So right now I'm just cleaning the bottom of her brows just so she can have a sharp looking brow. When picking a concealer shade, I usually go about 2 shades lighter than normal, just so it can give her that sharp defined brow. Then I go in with my brush and I pat that concealer into her eyelids. As I'm patting, I am moving the product along the front of her eyebrows. Then I go back in with my concealer and I just clean up some more, making my brows a little bit smaller. I will be doing a detailed eyebrow tutorial, so that will be coming soon. We are going to be zooming into the brows in the new video, and I'm going to teach you guys how to fill in step by step on the concealer, how to pick the right shades and all that, and how to blend as well. Just going back in with my brush. Every time I use my concealer, I do take my brush to blend everything in, just because I don't want one area to just be filled with concealer and later down it's going to be hard to move the concealer as it's drying up. Now that I cleaned up the bottom of her brows, I'm going to go back in with my pencil and creating an arch, a more defined arch at the top. Same steps, just different location. I'm taking the concealer and slowly just cleaning up the top of her brows and creating that shape. And there goes my little brush, just blending the top of the brows as well. And again, I will have detailed videos of everything listed in here, everything that I do. You know, I'm gonna have a video for eyebrow section, eyeshadow section, skin section as well. And I'm taking the same concealer shade and putting that all over her eyelids as a base for my shadow. So I am going to go in with my original beauty blender to evenly spread out the product. I do bring some of the product down a little bit just so when I do go in with my foundation, or by the time that I do go in with my foundation, that the concealer is not dried up and it doesn't create a line. The Signature Glam is the most requested look ever. It is a soft brown bronzy look. I usually use this for clients who have never worn makeup before and just want something really natural. So as you can tell from the beginning, I started with the semi nose contour and then I blend the products into her eyelids. Then I just gradually build the color up. I usually tell my artists that less is more. It's best to start with less and build up the product, build up the color, than rather just placing a color and you can't move it and it's just stuck there. So again, as you can see, I'm just starting in with my nose contour and then I blend the products into her eyelids. After I blend all that product into her eyes, I'm going in with a darker brown to give her more of a sexy, smoky look. Then I go back in with my last shadow color and I blend that as well so there's no harsh lines with the shadows. And then I take my concealer brush and I just brush down the middle just so I have no harsh lines, nothing, that will be shown once I put the setting spray on. So I'm going in with a black eyeshadow for her eyeliner. You can use a dark liquid liner or you can use, I believe, the Inglot. I hope I'm saying this right. Their dark liner, I also use that as well if I'm creating a wing. But for my preference, I like to go in with a dark brown or a black eyeshadow because it does give it a more sultry, sexy look. But you can use whatever you'd like to create your wing. All over her face, I'm applying the Wet n Wild matte primer with the Real Techniques face brush. Sidebar, when you guys do come into my chair, I will not ruin your outfit. Look, you guys, I messed up her shirt. It was just a little bit, but still, when you guys come into my chair, I will not ruin your outfit, I promise. I have an interesting way of mixing my colors. For my light skin girls, I usually make them a little bit darker. I know that right now it's a whole different color. Not really, but it is on camera. But I will be brightening it out with the concealer. That's something that I had to learn along the way when I was doing my light skins. And also, you guys, when you guys are starting with clients or while you're doing clients, you might see that there's different ways that you could, use some techniques that just work for you. And my technique for light skins is to just make them a little bit darker, probably like a bronzier color, like a contour color that you would normally use. and I would use my concealer to just even out her skin tone. I will be creating a more in-depth video on how I pick my shades for my fair tone, light skin, brown skin, and dark skin clients, and how I apply foundation and concealer on them as well. One tip that is really important when applying foundation, it's best to pat the foundation into the skin. Do not swipe. I know right now it does look like I'm swiping the foundation, but I'm just patting very fast. And again, less is more, so I usually just take less product and I just pat into my client's skin, and I just go back until I feel like she's ready for the next step. But always pat, never swipe, never do anything else. Sometimes I do go in with the beauty blender and I pat into that as well. Right now I'm taking my Tarte Concealer. The shade will be listed in the description below. I'm not sure what shade I used. I think it was 44. And I don't even know if they have a shade that's 44N, but everything will be listed in the description below. I put some under her eye, I put it on the bridge of her nose, I put some on her forehead and a button on her chin as well. Then I go in with the concealer that I used under her eyebrow. I placed that on her nose and some under her eyes just to brighten up the face. Then I go in with the same beauty blender and I just blend everything out. Again, light pats. We do not swipe, we do not do anything else. We lightly pat and spread out the products that way. One thing that I do, if I notice that I put too much concealer, too much product in one area, I will take my brush or my blender that has that product and place it somewhere else, just so I don't have to do so much blending. Although blending is good, but just so we don't have to do so much blending, I would just take some of that product and move it somewhere else. Or sometimes I will pat it on my hands, as you can see right now that I'm doing, and then I'm gonna go back into her face and just spreading everything out. Blend, blend, blend. I cannot stress this part out even more. Blending is key. Blending is what makes your makeup. Clearly, when somebody sees your face, when somebody sees your work, they will definitely know, oh, this artist, this person did not blend her face, and we don't want that. The second thing about makeup after the brows is the skin. So we want to make sure that we blend everything in. I personally like to go back in with the concealer that I did use under her eyebrow, right there under her eyelids, just so it can brighten up the face a little bit more. I noticed that the skin was not bright enough to my liking, so I did add a little more to the chin and above her lips, just so her face could be a little bit brighter. If you do happen to make your clients darker than they normally are, you can always go in with a brighter concealer. And if you do make your clients a little bit lighter, or maybe a lot lighter than their normal skin tone, you can always go in with a darker bronzer or a darker contour to even out the skin as well. So I'm just blending all that out. I do go back in with my foundation brush just so I don't see any harsh lines. It is totally normal to go back in with your foundation brush and use your concealer at the same time, just so everything is blended. So now I'm going in with my Laura Mercier translucent powder. I'm applying the powder everywhere that I did use my concealer to just lock everything in. For the best results, I would recommend to use a moist beauty blender, just so you could really pat in the product into the skin. I always go back in with the setting powder about 2 to 3 times under the eye just because I don't want any creasing. I really want to lock in the concealer. I do not contour my clients just because I hate the harsh line that contour does give. Right now I am using Morphe bronzer in the color Trailblazer. I'm applying a little bit on my client's skin. When I do apply bronzers, I like to tap my brush against the palette or just tap my brush to remove any excess. And with everything else, I just like to build the colors as I go. To define and lift up her face, I do go in along her jawline with the same bronzer. If you could take one thing from this video, I want you guys to take that less is more. As you can see, I am still building up color by just going over the same places with the same bronzer. So behind the scenes, I did contour her nose. With the powder, I saw this step somewhere. I'm not sure what it does. I'll probably look it up and write it down in the description, but I saw it somewhere and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna use it. So I did. But right now I'm going in with some blush. Again, gradually building color. I do put a little bit and then I go back in, of course, and build that to my liking. And I also want to point out that if you guys do have any questions, you guys can leave them in the comments. I will definitely reply back to you. Or you can DM me on Instagram at SlayByNay. That is my makeup page. And I will also definitely reply back to you on that as well. Another great tip as well is to use a beauty blender, and I know some artists use another brush and they place that under a client's eye, so when you are adding shadow under, if any fallout, any residue from the brush, it will land on the beauty blender so it does not smudge or mess up the makeup. Right now I'm using a big fluffy brush just to remove any leftover powders that was on her face, under her eyes, on her chin, just so when we do spray, that powder is not there and it doesn't create any flashback. To set her face, I'm using Wet&Wild Photo Focus Matte Finish Setting Spray. I'm giving her a light mist and then I use a beauty blender to pat all that into her skin. And to line up her lips, I am using a Wet&Wild. It's either a lip liner or an outliner pencil. I will add that in the description when I do go back and look for it. I tend to use both lip liners and eyeliner pencils when I am outlining the lips. I mostly use eyeliner only because I feel like it goes more smoothly on the lips, and I always use them in the color brown. It doesn't matter what brand I use, I always use eyeliner pencils in the color brown. And on her lips, I'm using the Maybelline New York Super Stay Matte Ink Lipstick in the color 55 Driver. And because she wanted a glossy lip, I went in with NYX Butter Gloss in the color Fortune Cookie. And I'm just adding some mascara just to blend her real lashes with the false lashes.
Look at that. Can you see that? Ooh! Butter. Butter. Ooh! Butter.